Greetings, friends. My name is Pavel Stelmach, and I'm glad to present for you the new episode of our daily wrap-up series. No fighters, but with more specific on tanks, armored vehicles and shells. The ninth meeting of the contact group on the defense of Ukraine, better known as Ramstein, was held at the NATO headquarters in Brussels. As for the planes, there is no news from the Western partners, but the main challenges of the meeting are the strengthening of Ukraine's anti-aircraft defense. Even before the meeting, US Defense Minister Lloyd Austin announced that 8 countries should transfer tanks to Ukraine: Germany, Poland, Canada, Portugal, Spain, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. He also reminded that the USA, the Czech Republic, and the Netherlands are jointly transferring more than 90 T-72 tanks, in addition to Poland's decision to provide its modernized T-72s.
In recent months, the group who gathered here today pledged to provide significant quantities of battlefield capabilities: tanks, air defense, and munitions. 11 countries have pledged tanks, 22 have pledged infantry fighting vehicles, 16 pledged artillery and munitions, and 9 more pledged air defense artillery. The group is focused on delivering the capabilities committed and efficiently providing the training, the spare parts, the sustainment, logistics necessary for the full employment of these systems. Training, maintaining, and sustaining Ukraine's remains key for Ukraine to prevail.
Another important point, according to Ukrainian Minister of Defense Oleksiy Reznikov, was the formation of a safety margin regarding ammunition. And according to the NATO General Secretary Jens Stoltenberg, the war against Ukraine consumes a huge amount of ammunition and depletes the Allies' reserves. The current level of spending by Ukraine on ammunition is many times higher than the level of their production. This puts a strain on our defense industry. Also, Stoltenberg says that there is now a logistics race, so Ukraine must receive key assets such as ammunition, fuel, and spare parts before Russia can seize the initiative on the battlefield. Therefore, the Pentagon is already trying to increase the production of artillery shells by 500% within 2 years, raising the production of ammunition to a level not seen since the Korean War, according to the New York Times. And German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said that the German defense giant Rheinmetall is starting independent production of 35mm shells for the Gepard self-propelled anti-aircraft system. But you know what is the most interesting thing? Today, British Defense Minister Ben Wallace said that Russia is already using 97% of its troops in Ukraine. That is almost everything, but still achieves nothing. Although by the anniversary of the start of the full-scale war, Putin ordered the seizure of Donetsk region.
The type of support has evolved, and that's part of the ongoing consultations among allies within NATO, within the Ukraine support group, and it will continue, because we need to ensure that Ukraine gets the weapons it needs to be able to retake territory, liberate the lands, and win this war and prevail as a sovereign independent nation.
Of course, a significant part of the agreements and discussions should be left behind the closed doors of the contact group meeting, but the basic trends remain unchanged. Together, Ukraine and its partners are doing everything to ensure that the terrorist state lose. Volodymyr Zelensky noted in his evening address that this should happen faster. According to him, the Kremlin is trying to squeeze all possible potential for aggression from Russia, and in a hurry, because it knows that the world is still stronger, but it needs time to gather its strengths.
Швидкість – це дуже важливо. Швидкість в усьому.
Speed is very important. Speed in everything, in decision making, in the implementation of the decisions, in delivery, in training. Speed saves lives, speed brings back safety. And I thank all our partners who realize the speed is important. I thank all of our American friends for their leadership and systematic coordination of the Ramstein meeting, as well as for the personal participation of Mr. Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense of the United States, and Mr. Mark Milley, Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs, in the meetings.
Not for nothing, after the end of the meeting, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that our partners expect to see the offensive of Ukraine in the spring. We expect the fastest possible victory in this senseless war. After the victory, the restoration of Ukraine will be even faster. International exhibition and conference Rebuild Ukraine as part of Expo 21st begins today in the capital of Poland. The main task of this conference is to attract external funding for the purpose of restoring Ukraine. 23 Ukrainian cities and settlements will present their own vision of priority reconstruction projects and the future development of their communities by attracting investment and charitable funds. The participants of the event are Ukrainian local and state authorities, international financial organizations, donors, investors, and representatives of the construction industry.
I strongly believe it will help to attract financial resources and a global experience for the reconstruction of our land significantly damaged by Russian aggression. Because of unbreakable spirit, our people managed to stop the enemy and bravely defend the capital for 34 days. But as a result, more than 2,600 private houses, hundreds of business establishments, dozens of apartment buildings, schools, kindergartens, health, cultural and administrative facilities, hundreds of kilometers of roads and 5 bridges have been damaged or totally destroyed. 238 civilians have died. Nevertheless, we have ambitious plans for rapid reconstruction and transformation, and therefore expect that Rebuild Ukraine Forum will help us establish cooperation necessary for the implementation of appropriate projects. I believe only together we will rebuild our communities and the country at large.
Of course, one of the main issues remains the financing of recovery. After all, as of the end of November alone, Ukraine's losses due to damage to the scale amounted to $136 billion. And according to Volodymyr Zelensky, $1 trillion is needed for the complete restoration of Ukraine. Of course, this money is not needed all at once, but gradually, to develop restoration plans, conduct research, produce all documentation, and of course the restoration works themselves. And we, of course, have an idea where to get the money. After all, the one who initiated all this, Russia, has to pay for everything that is happening. Therefore, of course, it is necessary to use the frozen Russian assets to restore Ukraine. Unfortunately, there is currently no legal basis for this, and its development is what the world should be doing right now.
In principle, it is clear-cut. Russia must pay for the reconstruction of Ukraine. At the same time, this poses difficult questions. This must be done in accordance with EU and international law, and there is currently no direct model for this. Ulf Kristersson, Swedish Prime Minister.
And then Russia still has to pay reparations, because if the restoration of Ukraine's material base is still possible, then who will restore the health of wounded and traumatized people? Who will restore the lives of military and civilian Ukrainians who became victims of this bloody war? However, I want to tell you one interesting thing. Ukrainians do not want reparations just to live. As you could see from the example of our refugees, Ukrainians are working, and the money received will be invested in development, the development of oneself, one's society, science and business, and therefore the whole world. After all, we cannot sit idle. It is not in our blood. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for future videos. Subscribe to our channel and goodbye.